Friends, my channel name is Indian Epic History. Search this channel name on YouTube. Then select playlist option for all videos like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puran. Otherwise, click the channel name or picture below the video. Then go to the playlist. This is Bhuri Critical Mahabharat book, section 25, Arga Biharana Parva. 33. Vishnupada said, at that time of the sprinkling of water, all the Brahmanas and kings entered the inside of the sacrificial enclosure. The Marshis, with the great soul Narada at the forefront, seated themselves at the altar. With the Rajarshis, they were as radiant as the gods and the Devrishis in Brahma's abode. Those immensely energetic ones performed one rite after another and discussed it among themselves. This is the right way, that is not the right way, there is no other way except this. Thus did they speak a lot and argue with each other. Some made weak arguments appear strong, others cited the sacred text to make strong arguments appear weak. Some intelligent debaters tore apart the arguments of others, the way hawks fell upon raw pieces of meat thrown in the air. Some among them were great in their vows and knew the stories about Dharma and Artha. Others were supreme among those who had knowledge of the Vedas. Others found delight in recounting tales. The sacrificial altar was surrounded by gods, Brahmanas, and Maharshis, all with knowledge of the Vedas, and looked as beautiful as the clear sky with its stars. O king, no Shudra or one without any vows was near the inner altar of Yudhishthira's abode. On seeing the prosperity of the prosperous and intelligent Dharmaraja, all the consequences of that sacrifice, Narada became satisfied. O Lord of men, on seeing the assembly of all the Kshatriyas, the sage Narada began to think, O bull among the Bharata lineage, he remembered the ancient account about the partial incarnations that he had heard in Brahma's abode. O descendant of the Kuru lineage, knowing that this was an assembly of gods, Narada remembered Pundarikaksha Hari, the Lord Narayana, slayer of enemies of the wise ones and destroyer of enemies of the enemies, destroyer of cities of the enemies, had himself been born as a Kshatriya to keep his plague. In ancient times, the creator of being had himself commanded the gods, you will regain your own worlds after you have killed one another. Having thus instructed all the gods, Sambhu Narayana, the illustrious lord of the universe, was himself born in Yadu's dynasty. Having been born in the lineage of the Andhakas and the Vrishnis, the supreme one among those who extend lineages shone with supreme prosperity like the moon among the stars. Hari's strength of arms was worshipped by Indra. With all the gods, he is the destroyer of enemies and had been born in human form. Oh, what can be a greater wonder than this? The self-creator will himself take away all these great and strong Kshatriyas. These were the thoughts of the righteous Narada. He knew that Hari Narayana is the God who is worshipped through sacrifices. The intelligent one, supreme among those who know Dharma, remained at the great sacrifice of the supremely intelligent Dharmaraja so as to greatly honor him. O king, O descendant of the Bharata lineage, Bhishma then spoke to King Dharmaraja Yudhishthira, let offerings be made to the kings according to what they deserve. O Yudhishthira, it is said that one's preceptor, one's priest, one's relative, a snataka, a friend, and a king, these are the Sikhs who are deserving of such offerings. It is also said that when someone comes and stays for more than 1 year, he too becomes deserving. These kings have stayed with us for a very long time. O king, therefore, let an argya be brought for each of them. Let the first argya be brought for he who is the most deserving among them. Yudhishthira asked, O grandfather, O descendant of the Kuru lineage, whom do you consider to be the one to whom the first argya would be presented? Please tell me what is right, O descendant of the Bharata lineage. Through his intelligence, Santanu's son Bhishma then determined that Varshnaya Krishna was the most deserving person on earth. Among all these assembled here, he is the one who blazes with his energy, strength, and valor like the sun shines among the stars. This sacrificial place is lit up and gladdened by Krishna like a sunless place with the sun and a windless place with the wind. Having been thus instructed by Bhishma, the powerful Sahadeva offered the supreme argya to Varshnaya Krishna. In accordance with the rites prescribed, Krishna accepted it. In accordance with the rites laid down in the sacred text, however, Shishupala could not tolerate this homage shown to Vasudeva. In that assembly, the immensely powerful king of Chedi, Shishupal, censured Bhishma and Dharmaraja and then insulted Vasudeva. Next chapter. Shishupala said, O descendant of the Kuru lineage, when so many great souled lords of the earth are present here, Varshnaya does not deserve to be worshipped as if he were a king, O Pandava. This honor shown to Pandrikaksha is not deserving of the great soul Pandavas. O Pandavas, you are children and do not know the subtitles of Dharma. This son of the river can see little and has transgressed what is proper. Through he knows what is dharma. Bhishma act like you out of favorism and is worthy of censure in the world of honest ones. This man from Dashara is not even a king. You have shown him homage. How does he deserve to be honored foremost among all these kings? O bull among the Bharata lineage, you cannot consider Krishna to be the eldest when the aged Vasudeva is here. How can the son he shown homage first? Or you may consider Vasudeva to be one who always does that which ensures your welfare. But then, when Drupada is here, how can Madhava be thus worshipped? O chief among those of the Kuru lineage, if you consider Krishna to be your preceptor, how can Varshnaya be shown homage when Drona is here? O descendant of the Kuru lineage, if you consider Krishna to be the sacrificial priest, how can you show him homage when the Brahmana, Dayapayana, Vedvyas is present? O supreme among those of the Kuru lineage, Madhusudana is not a sacrificial priest or a preceptor or a king. Why have you shown him homage except out of favorism? O descendant of the Bharata lineage, if you must worship Madhusudana, why did you bring these kings here so as to insult them? We did not offer tribute to the great soul Kaunteya out of fear or out of avarice or as a result of conciliation. We offered him tribute because he wished to become an emperor in accordance with the dictates of Dharma, yet he now pays no attention to us. Krishna has not attained any signs of royalty, yet he is offered homage in the midst of this assembly of kings. This is nothing but an insult. The fame of Dharma's son as someone who has dharma in his heart has vanished. Who can offer deserving homage in this way to one who has deviated from dharma? Born in the lineage of the Vrishnis, he earlier slew a king. Today, the devotion of dharma has deserted Yudhishthira. His meanness is evident from his offering the arghya to Krishna or Madhava. If the Kaunteyas are scared and if they have become mean as a consequence of their uh, asceticism, surely you could have enlightened them about what kind of honor you deserve. O Janardana, if in their meanness they offered you a homage that you are not worthy of, why did you accept it? Through undeserving, you set great store on this homage like a dog that has found an offering of sacrificial ghee and consumes it in private. O Janardana, this is not only an insult to the Indras among kings, the Kurus have also brought out your true nature, O Madhusudana. You are not a king, and this royal homage to you is like a wife to the impotent or a beautiful sight to the blind. We have seen what King Yudhishthira is, and we have seen what Bhishma is. You have seen what Vasudeva is. We have seen everything exactly as it is. With these words, Shishupala arose from his supreme seat and went out from the assembly together with all the other kings. Vesnampana said, the king Yudhishthira rushed after Shishupala and spoke to him in these sweet and conciliatory words, O Lord of the earth, the words that you have spoken are not appropriate, O king. They are in violation of dharma. They are cruel and serve no purpose. O Lord of the earth, Santanu's son Bhishma will never err in supreme dharma, and do not insult him in vain. Look at these many lords of the earth older than you. They accepted the homage shown to Krishna, and you should also accept it. O Lord of Chedi, Bhishma knows Krishna's true nature, and you yourself do not know it as well as the Kaurava does. Bhishma said Krishna is the oldest in the world. He who does not accept the homage shown to him deserves neither kind words nor conciliation. A Kshatriya who is supreme among warriors and having defeated a Kshatriya in battle sets him free from captivity, becomes his preceptor in this assembly of kings. I do not see a lord of the earth who has not been defeated in battle through Satvata's energy. Not only is Achyuta supremely deserving of this homage, he deserved to be worshipped by all the three worlds. Many bulls among Kshatriyas have been defeated by Krishna in battle. The entire universe and everything are established in Varshnaya. Therefore, through their our elder here, we show homage to Krishna and no one else. You should not speak as you did. Your thoughts should not be of that kind. O king, I have attended upon many who are old in knowledge when they recounted in their assemblies and qualities of Shauri, blessed with all the qualities. I have heard of those many qualities that are greatly revered by the honest. Many are the times when I have heard people talk about the deeds that this intelligent one has performed since birth. O King of Chedi, we have not worshipped Janardana out of caprice, nor have we shown him homage because of our sacrificial relationship with him or because we expect anything from him. He is the source of all happiness on earth. All the honest of the earth honor him. We offered him the homage because we knew of his fame, valor, and victories. There is no one here, however young, who has not been examined. Passing over many who possess qualities and age, we choose Hari as the most deserving of honor. He is the eldest among Brahmanas in knowledge, and among Kshatriyas he is the greatest in strength. Both these are firm grounds for Govinda to be worshipped. He is learned in the Vedas and Vedangas and has infinite strength. Is there anyone else in the world of men who is as distinguished as Keshava? In Achyuta can always be found generosity, dexterity, learning, valor, modesty, deeds, supreme intelligence, humility, beauty, steadfastness, satisfaction, and prosperity. Therefore, he has every quality. He is the teacher, father, and preceptor. He is fit to be honored and worthy of worship. Harikesha Krishna is the officiating priest, the preceptor, the bridegroom, the Snataka, the king, and the friend. Therefore, Achyuta has been shown the homage. The worlds owe their origin to Krishna, and in him are they dissolved. It is in Krishna that all the beings of this universe are established. He is passive nature, he is the active door, and he is eternal. He is supreme among all beings, and it is for this reason that Achyuta is the eldest. Intelligence, mind, greatness, wind, energy, water, sky, earth, and the four kinds of beings are all established in Krishna. The sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, the directions, and the intermediate directions are all established in Krishna, since he does not know that Krishna is always everywhere. This Shishupala is only a child and utters these words. It is only the intelligent man who can see the best of Dharma and can act according to Dharma, not this king of Chedi, who among these great soul lords of the earth, young and old, do not consider Krishna to be worthy of worship, who does not show him homage. If Shishupala considers that this homage was undeserving, let him act as he sees fit for this undeserving honor. Next chapter 36. Vaishampana said, having said this, the immensely famous Bhishma became quiet. Then Sadeva uttered these words of great import. If there are any kings here who cannot tolerate the homage I have shown to Keshava Krishna of immeasurable valor and the slayer of Keshi, I place my foot on the heads of those strong ones. As I utter these words, let him give a fitting reply. Let the intelligent kings accept that he is the teacher, the father, and the preceptor, one who is shown homage, who should be shown homage, and who is deserving of homage. When he displayed his foot, not one among those intelligent, wise, proud, and powerful kings replied. At that, a shower of flowers rained down on Sadeva's head. An invisible voice exclaimed, excellent, excellent, attired in black antelope skin Narada, the foreteller of both the past and the future, the dispeller of all doubts and the knower of all the worlds approved. All the masses who had been invited there with Sunitha at the forefront seemed to be angry and their faces paled. The king spoke of Yudhishthira's instatement and the homage offered to Vasudeva. They were disguised and decided they had deserved it. Though they were restrained by well wishers, their forms were angry and they looked like roaring lions that were dragged away from raw meat. Krishna understood that this ocean of kings, surrounded by waves of soldiers, was getting ready to do battle, Sadeva, god among men, completed the ceremony, worshipped especially the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas who deserved such homage. When Krishna had been shown homage, Sunita, the one who dragged his enemies, spoke to the lords of men. He was angry and his eyes were extremely copper red. Do you think that I am still the general of your army? Do we stand here ready to fight the assembled Vrishnis and Pandavas? When he had thus inspired all the kings, the bull among the Chedis, concerned with the kings about disrupting the sacrifice. Next section 26, Shishupal Vad Parva. Chapter 37, Vishampana said, on seeing that ocean of kings angrily agitated like the sea, Yudhishthira spoke to the old Bhishma, best among those who are intelligent and the grandfather of the Kurus. It was like the greatly energetic Puruhuta speaking to Brihaspati, the great ocean of kings is agitated with anger. O grandfather, tell me what I should do now. O grandfather, tell me now in detail and completely what I must do to prevent an obstruction to the sacrifice so that the welfare of the subjects is ensured. When Dharmaraja Yudhishthira, knowledgeable in Dharma, uttered these words, Bhishma, the grandfather of the Kurus, thus spoke to him, O tiger among the Kuru lineage, do not be pretended. Can a dog kill a lion? I have already chosen a path that is auspicious and in conformity with good policy. All these rulers of the earth bark like a pack of dogs around a sleeping lion, O son, like dogs angrily barking before a lion. They stand before the sleeping lion of the Vrishni lineage as long as the lion Achyuta is asleep. This bull among Chedis and like a lion himself makes those others seem like lions. O best of kings, O son, Shishupala has limited sense. Through he who is the soul of everything, he desired to take all these kings to Yama's abode. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, it is certain that Adhokshaja will take away Shishupala's energy. O Kaunteya, O supreme among intelligent ones, you will be fortunate. The intelligence of the king of Chedi and that of all these kings has gone astray. Whomever that tiger among men wishes to take, his intelligence goes as astray as that of the king of Chedi. O Yudhishthira, Madhava is the creator and the destroyer of the four kinds of beings that exist in the three worlds. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, having heard these words, the king of Chedi replied to Bhishma in a harsh tone. Next, chapter 38, Shishupala said, you are old and you defile your lineage. You try to frighten all these kings with your threats. Are you not ashamed? You are supreme among all the Kurus, but since you live in the third state, it is but appropriate that you should offer advice that runs counter to Dharma. O Bhishma, with you at the forefront, it is but natural that the Kauravas should be like a boat tied to a boat, or like a blind man following the blind. You have once again injured our minds by specially recounting this one's deeds, such as the killing of Putna and so on. O Bhishma, you are arrogant and stupid. If you wish to praise Keshava, why does your tongue not splinter into 100 parts? O Bhishma, you are supposed to be old in wisdom, yet you wish to praise a cowherd. His evil repute is recounted by even those who are like children among men. O Bhishma, if he killed a vulture when he was a child, what is extraordinary? Ashava and Vrishava were not skilled in the art of war. O Bhishma, uh, what is extraordinary if he kicked down an inanimate wooden cart with his foot? O Bhishma, it is my view that there was nothing remarkable in holding up Govardhana mountain for a week. There was nothing remarkable in holding up Govardhana mountain for a week. It was nothing but an anthill, because that time Govardhana was not a real mountain. Okay, that's why Shishupala told like this. O Bhishma, when we hear from you that he ate great quantities of food while sporting on a mountain top, we are astonished even more. You are knowledgeable in dharma. What can be more extraordinary than killing the greatly strong Kamsa, whose food he had partaken? O Bhishma, O wretch of the Kuru lineage, do you do not know dharma? I will now tell you the words of the righteous ones, since you do not seem to have heard them. O Bhishma, righteous, honest, and virtuous ones have always instructed us that in this world one should not use weapons against women, cattle, brahmanas, those whose food has been partaken, and those who seek refuge. It seems all this has been wasted on you. You speak to me about Keshava, praising him as old in wisdom, old and superior, or supreme among the Kuru lineage. Do I not know anything, O Bhishma? How does the killer of a cow and the killer of a woman deserve praise? He is foremost among all intelligent ones. He is the Lord of this universe. Hearing these words of yours, Janardana believes them to be true, but it is certain that all this is false. Even if a recounter sings praises many times, those praises are not praise for the recounter. Like bullingas and vultures, every being acts according to its nature. There is no doubt that your nature is vile. The Pandavas think Krishna deserves worship. They must also be evil. You show them the path. You speak of dharma, but through you know about dharma, you have steered from the path. O Bhishma, which learned one with dharma in his heart and supreme among all learned ones will act as you have, ignoring the precepts of dharma? O Bhishma, if you think you know dharma and think yourself to be wise in intelligence, why did you abduct the maiden Amba? She desired someone else. Your brother Vichitravirya followed the path indicated by the righteous ones. That king did not accept the maiden you had abducted. He is the one on whose wives others had a beget children. You believe yourself to be wise, but in your sight others feathered offspring. That is not the part of the righteous. O Bhishma, where is your dharma? Your brahmacharya is in vain. There is no doubt that you uphold it as a result of delusion or impotency. I do not see you as one who knows dharma. I do not see you prospering. You have not served the old or those who speak of dharma, offerings, alms, studying, and sacrifices characterized by a lot of dakshina. These are not worth a 16 of what is obtained through a son. O Bhishma, whatever is obtained through many vows and facts certainly goes in vain of one does not have a son. You do not have offspring. You are old. You utter false word in the name of dharma. Like the swan in the story, you will now be killed by your own relatives. O Bhishma, learned man in ancient times told this story so that you can hear. I will now recount it completely. In ancient times, an old swan lived near the ocean. He always spoke of dharma and instructed the birds, but his conduct was otherwise. Practice dharma and avoid evil. These were the words that birds heard from that expounder of dharma, O Bhishma. For the sake of dharma, the other birds brought him food. Creatures that live in the sea, O Bhishma, those birds also left all their eggs with him and then roamed in the waters of the sea. But the evil one ate all those eggs. That Swan was always attentive to his own interests while the others were negligent. He ate all the eggs of others. When the number of eggs declined, an extremely intelligent one was suspicious and kept a watch on him. Having witnessed the swan's evil act, the bird was extremely unhappy and spoke about it to all the other birds. O descendant of the Kuru lineage, those birds assembled. When they witnessed it themselves, they killed the untruthful swan. O Bhishma, since your conduct is like that of the swan, these angry lords of the earth will kill you, like the birds killed the swan. O Bhishma, O descendant of the Bharata lineage, men who know the ancient tales, sing a song about this. I will repeat it for you exactly. O one who rides on the chariot of wings, your act of eating the eggs contradicts your words. You will be killed in anger because your soul shows your falsehood. Next chapter, Sisupala said, I held in great esteem the immensely strong king Jarasandha. He did not wish to fight with this one, saying that he was no more than a servant who will regard as praiseworthy the act of killing Jarasandha undertaken by Keshava together with Bhimsena and Arjuna. Entering through a way that was no gate and disguised as a Brahmana, Krishna saw the influence of the wise Jarasandha. Since he knew the nature of the Brahman and was himself devoted to Dharma, he first offered the evil one water to wash his feet, but it was refused. O descendant of the Kuru lineage, Jarasandha invited Krishna, Bhima, and Dhananjaya to partake of food, but Krishna ate in a contrary way. You fool, if this one is the Lord of the universe, as you think him to be, why did he not consider himself to be a Brahmana? What is amazing to me is that through you make the Pandavas veer away from the path of the truth, yet they regard you as a righteous one or descendant of the Bharata lineage, or perhaps it is not strange that you, old and like a woman, are regarded as their guide in all matters. Vaishnampana said, when he heard these long words, harsh and spoken harshly, the powerful Bhimsena, supreme among those who are strong, was angered. His eyes were naturally large, like lotuses. Because of anger, they become dilated and copper red. All the kings saw him knit his brows in three furrows, like the three cursed Ganga on the three peaks of his forehead. They saw his face, teeth gnashed in anger, like destiny about to consume all beings at the end of a yuga. The strong minded one was about to swiftly arise, but the strong armed Bhishma restrained him, like Ishvara checking Mahasena. O descendant of the Bharata lineage, Bhima was soon pacified by Bhishma. The teacher calmed his anger with various words. That destroyer of enemies could not transgress Bhishma's word, like the ocean never crosses the shoreline, even though it is swollen after the rains. O Lord of Men, through Bhimsena was angry with Shishupala. That brave one did not tremble and remained steadfast in his manliness, through that destroyer of enemies kept jumping up. He did not even think about him, like a lion ignoring small deer. On seeing Bhimsena terrible in valor, thus angered, the powerful king of Chedi Sisupal uttered words of jest, O Bhishma, let him go, let all this lord of man watch him consumed by my power like moths before a flame. On hearing these words of the king of Chedi, Bhishma, supreme among those of the Kuru lineage and supreme among those who are intelligent, spoke these words to Bhima. Bhishma said, this one was born in the royal lineage of Chedi with 3 eyes and 4 arms. As soon as he was born, he screamed and brayed like an ass. His father and mother and their relatives were struck with fear on seeing his malformed body and resolved to abandon him. The hearts of the king, his wife, his advisers, and his priests were defiled with anxiety. However, a disembodied voice spoke, O king, this son that has been born will be fortunate and supreme in strength. Therefore, do not be scared of him. Carefully tend to the child, O Lord of man. His death will not be at your hands. The time has not yet come. The one who will bring about his death with weapons has also been born. On hearing this invisible words, the mother became anxious as a result of affection for her son and said, with hands joined in salutation, I bow down before the one who has uttered these words about my son. Please take him speak some more. I wish to know who will bring about my son's death. At that the invisible voice spoke again. There is no one whose lap his child will be placed. Thereupon the extra arms will fall down on the ground like the 5 headed snakes, and the third eye on the forehead will disappear. He will be the slayer. On hearing of the 3 eyes and 4 arms and the invisible words, all the kings on earth came to see him. O Lord of the earth showed them homage as they arrived in accordance with what they deserve and placed his son separately on each king's lap, one after another. But through the child ascended thousands of laps, what had been said did not come to pass. Then the Yadavas, Shamkarshana and Janardana went to the capital of the Chedi kingdom to see the Yadavi who was their father's sister. Rama and Keshava honored every king in accordance with rank and superiority, inquired about everyone's welfare, and seated themselves. After the 2 warriors had been shown homage, the queen herself placed her son on Damodara's lap with a pleasure that was more than usual. As soon as the child was placed on his lap, the extra arms fell off and the eyes on the forehead sank. On seeing this, she was miserable and pretended and prayed to Krishna for a boon. O Krishna, O mighty armed one, I am afflicted with fear. Please grant me a boon. You provide relief to everyone who is oppressed. You are the refuge of everyone who is frightened. Uh, how can do not be afraid? Janardana told his father's sister, O aunt, what boon will I give you? What shall I do? I will obey your words, be it possible or impossible. At these words, she told Krishna, the son of the Yadu lineage, O immensely strong one, please pardon Shishupala's transgressions. Krishna replied, O aunt, I will pardon 100 offense of your son, even if they are offense that deserve death. Therefore, do not grieve, O brave one. Such is this evil king Shishupala, evil in intelligence, insolent because of Govinda's boon, he can now challenge you. Next chapter 41. Bhishma said that Chedi king's intention of challenging Achyuta is not his own. There is no doubt that Krishna, Lord of the universe, determined this. O Bhimsena, what king on earth dares abuse me now as this defiler of his lineage has done? Had it not been for incitement by destiny, O mighty armed one, it is certain that he is but a small part of Hari's energy, and the greatly famous Hari wished to reclaim it. O tiger among the Kuru lineage, it is for the reason that the evil minded king of Chedi roars like a tiger without thinking about all of us. Besapana said, having heard these words of Bhishma, the Chedi could not tolerate them and again spoke to Bhishma in anger. Shishupala said, O Bhishma, let our enemies possess the influence that Keshava possesses. You always arise and praise him like a bird. O Bhishma, if your mind finds pleasure in praising others, then praise the real kings, leaving out Janardana. Praise Darada of Balika, supreme among kings. When he was born, he tore the earth asunder. O Bhishma, praise this Karna. He is the wielder of the mighty bow. He equals the thousand-eyed one in strength and is the ruler of Vanga and Anga. O Bhishma, always praise Drona and Daurni. The father and son are Maharata, supreme among Brahmanas, and worthy of praise. O Bhishma, it is my view that if either of them is enraged, he can annihilate the earth with all its mobile and immobile objects. O Bhishma, I do not see a lord of man who is Drona's equal in battle, or that of Ashwatthama's. Why don't you wish to praise them, O Bhishma, since your mind is always fixed on praising? Why don't you praise Shalya and the other ruler of the earth, O king? But what can I do if you fail to heed the old ones? You have not heard what they, knowledgeable in Dharma, said in ancient times. There are four kings that must not be done: self censure, worship of oneself, ensure of others, and worship of others. These are not done by those who follow proper conduct. O Bhishma, if in your continual delusion you praise Keshava out of devotion towards him, no one will approve. How can you establish the entire universe in this evil minded protector of hearts, Bhoja's servant, or descendant of the Bharata lineage? Or perhaps your devotion is not a natural one. Have I not mentioned the Bulinga bird earlier, O Bhishma? The Bulinga bird lives on the other side of Himalayas. What it spoke was always devoid of meaning. Do not act out of extreme courage, was what is always said, but in folly it always acted out of extreme courage. O Bhishma, that foolish bird used to pick out pieces of flesh that struck between the teeth of a feeding lion. O Bhishma, there is no doubt that the bird's life was dependent on the lion's pleasure. You are best in what is not dharma and always speak like this. O Bhishma, there is no doubt that you live at the pleasure of this Lord of the earth. There is no one like you engaged in deeds that his words abhor. Veshampana said, O king, having heard these bitter words of the king of Chedi, Bhishma uttered these words so that the king of Chedi could hear. I truly live at the pleasure of this Lord of the earth. I, who do not consider these kings as equal to even straw, hearing these words of Bhishma, the kings became angry. Some of them trembled, the others censured Bhishma.
On hearing Bhishma's words, some mighty archers exclaimed, "Through old, this Bhishma is insolent and sinful. He deserved no pardon. Let all the angry kings assemble together and kill the evil minded Bhishma like an animal, or burn him in a fire made out of straw." Hearing these words, the intelligent Bhishma, the grandfather of the Kuru, spoke thus to the lords of the earth: "O Lord of the earth, I do not see an end to this world, since there will be more words. Therefore, all of you listen to me. Whether you kill me like an animal or burn me in a fire made out of straw, I place this foot of mine on all your heads. Govinda Achyuta is here. We have offered him worship. If anyone's mind propels him towards death, let him challenge in battle Madhava Krishna, the wielder of the bow and the club, until he is brought down and his body merges with that of the god." Next chapter 42, Vaishnavan said, on hearing these words of Bhishma, the immensely valorous king of Chedi desired to fight with Vasudeva and spoke to Vasudeva, "O Janardana, I am challenging you to battle. Come and fight with me until I have killed you, along with all the Pandavas. O Krishna, together with you, the Pandavas also deserve to be killed, since they have passed over the kings and worshipped you, who is not a king. O Krishna, it is my view that I must kill them. The evil minded ones have acted like children and have offered homage to an undeserving one who is a slave and not a king." Having uttered these words, the tiger among kings stood up and roared in anger. Having heard these words in the presence of all the kings and the Pandavas, Krishna replied in a soft voice, "O king, this son of a lady of the Satvata lineage is a great enemy of the Satvata clan. Though we have never done him harm, the cruel-minded one always seeks to injure us, O kings." Hearing that we had gone to the city of Parjotisa, this cruel one came and burned down Dwarka. Through he is my father's sister's son. When the royal ones from Bhoja were sporting themselves on Mount Revataka, he killed and captured all of them and took them to his own city. With certain evil in his heart, he wished to obstruct my father's sacrifice and stole the horse of the Ashwamedha. Through it was surrounded by guards. The famous Brabru's wife to be was traveling to the Shobira region to be married, but out of delusion and desire, he abducted her. He was cruelly disposed towards his maternal uncle, the ascetic Karusha, and used his powers of Maya to abduct Bhadra of Bishala. For the sake of my father's sister, I have borne a great deal of unhappiness. However, it is fortunate that it is happening before all these kings. You are now witness to the malevolence he bears towards me. Know also the deeds that he has performed secretly. I can no longer pardon his offense today. He deserved to be killed only because of his insolence in front of this assembly of kings. Desiring a speedy death, these fool ones offered himself to Rukmini, but the fool did not obtain her. The way Shudra cannot hear the Vedas. Having heard these words of Vasudeva, all the assembled kings began to censure the king of Chedi. Having heard these words, the powerful Shishupala burst into uh, laughter and uttered these scornful words, "O Krishna, are you not ashamed to recount this, especially before all these kings? Rukmini was mine first. O Madhusudana, no self respecting man, but you will admit before respectable ones that his wife had been someone else first. O Krishna, pardon me, Whether you pardon me or whether you show me respect, whether you bear friendship or enmity towards me, what can you possibly do to me? When he was talking in this way, the illustrious Madhusudana, the destroyer of enemies, angrily sliced off his head with the chakra, Varun Deva's gift, that chakra. The mighty armed one fell down like a mountain struck by the Vajra. The king saw a terrible angry rise up from the body of the Chedi king, the great king. It was like the sun rising in the sky, O Lord of men. That energy then paid homage to the lotus eyed Krishna, worshipped by the worlds, and entered his body. On seeing the energy enter the mighty armed one, supreme among all beings, all of the lords of the earth, through that this was extraordinary. When the Chedi was killed by Krishna, the clothless sky poured for rain, the earth trembled and blazing lightning struck. Some of those lords of the earth did not speak a word. At that time, when these indescribable things were happening, they looked on at Janardana. Some angrily rubbed on hand with the tip of another, others bit their lips, losing their senses in anger. But there were other kings who privately praised Varshnaya. Some were angry, others were in the middle. The Maharishis were delighted and went to Keshava and praised him. So did the great soul Brahmanas. And the immensely powerful kings Pandava then instructed his brothers to perform the funeral rites for the brave lord of the earth who had been Demaghosha's son. The brothers followed these instructions. Then Partha, with all the other lords of the earth, instated his son in the kingdom of Chedi. O king, then occurred the sacrifice of the king of the Kurus, and brought prosperity to everyone and joy to the young. With an abundance of opulence, with great quantities of riches and grain, large amounts of food and eatables, auspicious in its beginnings, and with the obstruction to peace removed, it was protected by Keshava until the great sacrifice of Rashtriya was completed. The mighty armed Janardana, the Lord Shauri, the wielder of the Sharanga, Chakra, and club, guarded it. On completion, after Dharmaraja Yudhishthira had bathed, all the Kshatriya king came to him and uttered these words: O Ajamidha, O one who is knowledgeable in Dharma, your prosperity has been extended, you have obtained sovereignty, your fame has been extended, O Indra among kings. With this deed, you have accomplished a great act for Dharma. O tiger among men, we crave your leave. We have been shown homage in every way we desire. We now wish to return to our own kingdom. Please grant us leave. On hearing these words of the king, Dharmaraja Yudhishthira worshipped each king as he deserved and told all his brothers, all these kings have assembled here out of their own pleasure. These scourgers of enemies are now living for their own kingdoms and are seeking my permission. O fortunate ones, conduct these kings to the ends of our kingdom. O Pandavas, the Pandavas were always followers of Dharma. Hearing these brothers' instructions, they followed each principal king as each one deserved. O king, the powerful Drishtadumya quickly conducted Virata, the Maharatha Dhananjaya, and great soul Yagyasena, the immensely strong Bhimsena, Bhishma, and Dhritarashtra, the great warrior Sadeva, the brave Drona and his son Nakula, Subala and his son, and the sons of Draupadi and Subhadra, the king of the mountains. Other bulls among the Kshatriyas conducted other Kshatriyas and worshipped properly. All the Brahmanas departed. O bull among the birth lineage, on the departure of all the lords among kings and the Brahmanas, the powerful Vasudeva spoke to Yudhishthira, O son of the Kuru lineage, I seek your leave to go to Dwarka. Through good fortune, you have achieved Rashtriya, supreme among sacrifices, having been thus addressed. Dharmaraja told Madhusudana, O Govinda, it is through your valor that I have achieved the supreme sacrifice. Through your grace, all the Kshatriyas have come under my sway and have attended upon me, uh, bringing rich tributes, O brave one. Without you, we will find no pleasure. But of course, you must go to the city of Dwaravati. Having seen thus addressed the greatly famous Hari, with the righteous Yudhishthira with him, went to Pritha and affectionately said, O father sister, your son have now obtained sovereignty and have obtained success and great riches. You should be pleased. Please grant me leave so that I can return to Dwarka. Keshava then bade farewell to Subhadra and Draupadi. Then, accompanied by Yudhishthira, he came out of the inner quarters, O great king, after he had bathed and prayed, and the Brahmanas had blessed him. Daruka yoked the beautifully constructed chariot that looked like a cloud and calm. It had the great Garuda on the banner. The great soul Pandarikaksha then circumambulated it and ascending departed for the city of Dwaravati. The fortunate Dharmaraja Yudhishthira, accompanied by his brothers, followed the immensely strong Vasudeva on foot. Then Pundarikaksha Hari stopped the supreme chariot for a moment and spoke to Yudhishthira, Kunti's son. O Lord of the earth, always remain steadfast in protecting your subjects, just as the God of rain protects all beings and a large tree protects all birds. May you be refuge of your relatives like the thousand-eyed means Indra is of the immortals. After conversing with each other, Krishna and the Pandavas took each other's leave and went to their houses. O king, when Krishna, supreme among Sattvatas, had left for Dwaravati, only Duryodhana and Subala Shakuni, bulls among men, remained at that celestial Sabha. Next chapter, Yudhishthir dies game Parva, Dyuta Parva.